Well, hello. Welcome, everyone. We are back. It's math time. Today, we are talking about how to find the products or really just multiply mixed numbers. And the crowd goes wild over mixed numbers. Uh, as we continue this journey and thinking about how we multiply fractions of all types, today we are going to focus on that mixed number. So recognizing and understanding that with a mixed number, we have a whole number and a fractional part. That's what makes a mixed number, because it is a mix or a mixture of a whole number and a fraction. So thinking about that piece. And so what happens when we have to take something like 3 1/3 and multiply it by 5 2/6, right? What is the work that we do? And of course, as always, we're going to have some steps that help us do that. We're going to start off today thinking about what we talked about yesterday, and we're going to start with estimation. So we want to estimate to make sure we have a good idea of what we're doing, right? Then we're actually going to convert these to top heavy. Then we will multiply our numerators and our denominators. And then finally, we will reduce. So we're going to follow, if needed, of course. Sorry, if needed. If needed. So we're going to follow these steps as we kind of go through this process. Again, thinking about all the other things we understand about fractions and the tools that help us get to the answers that we want. So let's just dive in and try this out. So again, 3 1/3 times 5 2/6. What is that going to look like when we go through these steps? When we go ahead and think about how we're going to estimate, convert to top heavy, multiply our numerators and denominators, and then reduce if we need to. So let's play that game. So 3 1/3 times 5 and I already forgot. Oh, 2/6. Okay, so step one of our process, we're going to go ahead and estimate. And again, if estimation does not make sense, as always, please watch our other videos in which we talk about this concept. But if I look here, I think, oh, well, 3 1/3, that's actually just close to 3 as a whole number. And 5 2/6 is actually close to 5, right? That's the closest whole number. So 3 times 5 is 15. So my answer should be somewhere around 15. Now, that's the estimation part. That's helpful. That helps me think about, is my answer reasonable when I'm done? So now let's just go on and get on with the math. Let's do the math. So step one with doing this math here is we are actually going to convert these to top heavy fractions. Okay, so that's going to be my first step with this. As I think about, I'll tell you what, let's put our estimation over here. So we estimated 15, and then let's get some workspace over here. If we think about this concept, then again, I have 3 holes, and each hole has 3 pieces with it. So 3 times 3 is 9 pieces. Plus the 1 piece I have here means I have 10 pieces out of 3. That's the top heavy. And here I have 6 pieces times 5 holes, which is 30 pieces, plus the 2 pieces here. That makes 32 pieces. And the size doesn't change out of 6. Okay. So we got that. So now that we've converted, the next thing we're going to do is we are just going to do our multiplication of our numerators and our denominators. And again, we got to make sure both of them are fractions. So 10/3, yes, fraction, 32nd, 6, fraction. So yep, those are both fractions. So I can just do that math. I am just going to multiply my denominators together. So 3 times 6 is 18. And then I'm going to multiply my numerators, which is 10 times 32. Well, that seems big, but really 1 times 32 is 32. And then it's actually 10 times bigger. So that's 320. Okay. And then we'll just take it to the last part, which is to reduce if I need to. And yes, I do need to reduce this or convert, right? I guess it's really a reduce or convert. Because I have a top heavy fraction now, I don't want it to be a top heavy fraction. So I am going to go ahead and do that math. So this is that other part where once again, I'm using division to help me in the process of multiplication, because every fraction is a division problem. Every fraction is a division problem. So this is just telling me I have 320. I'm going to divide it by 18. Now that's tricky. So I'm just going to think about, well, what do I know? Well, I know that 18 times 1 is 18. Therefore, 18 times 10 would be 180. So I'm going to start with a 10 out here, go 180 here. 0. And the bottom is bigger, so I need to regroup. So that gets me 4. So I have 140 left. Oh, okay. So what if I did 18 times 5? That would actually be half as much. So that would be 90. So I could do a group of 5. That's going to get me 90. Okay, I'm left with 50. Okay. Let's see, 18. I guess maybe I just need to skip counting by 18. So maybe see, 18 times 2 is 36. And then 18 times 3, I don't know, what's 36 plus 18 more? 14, 3, that'd be 50. Okay, so that'd be too much. So yeah, it looks like I have to go with 2, which would be 36. Oh, this is going to fall off the screen. That's going to give me a remainder of 14. Trust me, that would show up here. So actually what I end up with is 10 plus 5 plus 2 is 17 wholes, and 14 out of 18. So let's go back. Our estimation said it was about 15, and 17 and 14/18 is pretty darn close. So this feels good. Now, that's a lot of steps for the first problem. That was the first problem, and that really took us like 5 minutes, and that's okay, right? That's part of our process. We just follow the steps. Estimate, convert them to top heavy, multiply your numerators and denominators, then reduce or convert if need be. So let's take this on, right? Let's continue to practice this process. So let's look at another example as we go. 2 1/2, and let's go ahead and multiply that by 3 1/4. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the steps. First, we're just going to estimate. That's kind of outside of our normal steps. It's just something we should always think about doing, especially when we're doing products and quotients and things like that. Like we always want to get an idea, is my answer reasonable? So we're going to estimate. So I call it A instead of number 1, because then the first step to really doing the skill is we're going to convert. So we're going to convert to top heavy. Okay. And then we are going to multiply our numerators and our denominators. And then we will convert or reduce if we need to. Right, get that final answer. We definitely don't want it as a top heavy fraction. All right, so step 1, let's just do a quick estimation. 2 1/2 or 2 1/2. That rounds to 3. 3 1/4 rounds to 3. So my answer will be around 9. All right, quick estimation. That's the whole idea with estimation. You shouldn't have to do any extra math. It's all really done in your head. That's what makes it an estimation. So if you're like having to figure it out on paper and pencil, you're not really rounding to compatible numbers. Use numbers that make sense to you. Okay, now let's go ahead and convert both of these to top heavy. So 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this is 5/2 times 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13/4. All right, so now they're both fractions. So all I got to do is say 2 times 4, which is 8, and then 5 times 13. Do that math over here. So 5 times 13, that would be the same thing as 3 times 5 plus 10 times 5. So 3 times 5 is 15, 10 times 5 is 50. So it gets me 65. So I have 65/8. Okay, now I need to go ahead and convert or reduce, which in this case, I definitely have to reduce. This is top heavy. So this 65/8 is the same thing as 65 being divided by 8. which is the same thing as a big partial quotient that looks like this. 8 times 8 is 64. That's a math fact I had right away in my head. So I have 1 left over. So there's my answer. I have 8 wholes, right? These are my whole numbers out here. And 1 left over out of 8, out of what I'm dividing it by. And so when we take 2 1/2 and we multiply it by 3 1/4, we get 8 1/8. And if we look at our estimation, this is reasonable. 8 1/8 and 9 are really close to each other. So that would make sense, right? If I estimated 9 and my answer was like 8,003/4, well, that would be too much. Like I made a mistake somewhere. So this is the process. This is what we're doing. Estimate it, convert them to top heavy, multiply, and then reduce or convert back, right? Like turn it back into that mixed number. And then we're good. We're good. So let's just try another one. Let's try another one. So at this point, as always, if you've watched these videos before, this is that opportunity where I really like to have you pause the video and try this out on your own and then push play and see how you did. So pause the video. And welcome back from pausing the video. Let's see how we did here. So our hope is you have already gone through the steps for this. And if not, let's go ahead and remind everyone what we're going to do. We're going to first estimate because that's going to help us get to a reasonable answer. And then we are going to convert to top heavy. Okay. And once we convert to top heavy, then we want to make sure that we just multiply our numerators and our denominators, making sure, not together, right? Multiply the numerator times the numerator. Maybe I should show that. And your denominators times your denominators. And then we are just going to convert back or reduce if we need to. So convert or reduce. Cool. Summation first, right? As always, super quick. 4 3/4 is the same thing as 5. 1 2/3 is rounded to 2. So my answer should be around 10. 5 times 2 is 10. So we get about out of this. So let's see what we do. Let's now do the math. We're going to go ahead and convert to top heavy. 4 is 16 plus 3 is 19/4 times 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5/3. Now let's multiply our numerator times our numerator and our denominator times our denominator. So 4 times 3 is going to get us 12. Let's see, 19 times 5, that's another thing I'm just going to have to do the math on the side, and that's okay. That would be the same thing as, this is 9 times 5 and 10 times 5. So 45 and 50. So that's 95. So this is 95 over 12. And then I notice I need to go ahead and convert back, right? I need to turn this around and think about this as a division problem. 95/12 is the same thing as 95 being divided by 12, which is the same thing as 95 being divided by 12 and as a partial quotient. Let's see, what do I know about my 12s? I know 12 times 1 is 12. I know that 12 times 2 is 24. And I know that 3 is 36. Those are the only ones I kind of know off the top of my head. Oh no, 12 times 5 is 60. I know that one. These are some math facts I have in my head. What you want out of this is just pick ones you have in your head. And I guess the one that's going to help me the most at this is with a group of 5, which would be 60. And then that's going to get me 35. 12 times 3 is 36. So that's too much. So I'm just going to do another 2 groups, which gets me 24. And I'm left with 11 left over. So that would be my remainder, which means 1 3/4 times 1 2/3 is going to get me 7 wholes and 11 out of 12, which if I think about, is this reasonable? Yeah, it's pretty reasonable, right? I'm pretty close. And if my answer was like 32 and 11/12, well, then something went wrong. But 7, yeah, that's pretty close to 10. So that feels really reasonable to me. And again, it's just all about these steps. And this is all being with this. So I'm going to go ahead and post up one more for us to try, and then we'll just kind of call it a day and be able to get to practice on this. And as always, remember, if it doesn't make sense, you just keep asking questions until it does. That's the math norm. Ask questions until things make sense. Learn from mistakes. Take the risk. Don't need to try it. If you're wrong, you're wrong. That is better than just not trying it at all, because then you don't learn if you're not trying it. But if you try it out and you're wrong, you can learn from those mistakes, and that's okay. We're not supposed to know right away. So here we go. I'm going to go through this real quick, and this is another opportunity to go ahead and pause and try to solve it yourself. So welcome back from pausing your video and trying it yourself. So I'm gonna go through this real quick without even the steps written on the screen. So let's see how we first. We're going to round. So 5, because we'll get an estimation. 5 and 1/9 is still close to 5. 3 and 2/6 is close to 3. So here's another answer that should be around 15. I think we had another one like that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and convert these into top-heavy fractions. So 9 times 5 is 45 plus 1 is 46/9. Multiply that by 1826. These are big numbers. Okay, that's okay. I can do this. So we multiply our numerators and denominators. I'm going to go with my denominators first because, well, 9 times 6, I have that one in my head. Now, what I got to do over here, though, is I'm thinking about multiplying 46 times 20, which there's a couple of things I could do here. One, I could actually just think about doubling. Oh, yeah, 2 and 46. That's 2 46s. So I'm going to use repeat addition. That's 12. So that's 92. But there's also that 0 there. So that's 920. If I went ahead and just, no, that's not right. No, is that right? That is right. Sorry, I was like, my work got in the way. So 920 is what's going to happen when we multiply these two. And then the other way we can do this, again, if you need, is we could think about expanding it out and using the area model. So I would have 2 and 0. No, I'd have a 20. Oh boy, and a 40 and a 6. 2 times 4 is 2 zeros. That equals 0. 2 times 120. That's 0. And if I added those two together, I get 920. So yes, this still works. Okay, cool. So 46 times. Yeah, notice what I'm doing. I'm doing the work on the side. That is totally normal, right? You're not supposed to always be able to do all this in your head. That is not math. So if you're actually trying to solve all this in your head, we're going to make mistakes, and we don't want to do that. So okay, so I'm going to erase all my work so I still have more work or space to do the next step, which is to now convert this back. Because it's top heavy, this says 920 divided by 54. So let's do that. Now that's big. But again, remember, if I know 54 times 1, then I know 54 times 10. And if 54 times 1 is 4, then 54 times 10 is 540. And that's a good first chunk. I'll take that away. My bottom is bigger, so I'll regroup. That leaves me with 8. So I have 380. Okay. Let's see here. Halves and doubles. That doesn't really stick out to me. So maybe I could just do 2 groups. So that'd be 54 times 2, which would be the same thing as 54 plus 54. Notice all the work that has to happen with this, and that's okay, right? I'm doing all sorts of multiplication division on the side to get to my final answer, my final product here, and that is just part of the process. So that gives me 7. So 272. Let's see, if 54 times 2 is 108, then 54 times 4 is going to be 216, right? I'm just doubling. So that gives me 6, 5. Oh, 56 left. Oh, I can do one more group. 4 left over. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we have 17 holes. And we have 2 out of 54 left over. So 17 and 54 is our answer. Again, look at that. Very reasonable. So with that, let's call this and bring it to an end. I'm going to go back so we can kind of go back and remember our steps and look at them, making sure that we estimate. Then we're going to convert to top-heavy fractions. Then we are going to multiply our numerators by our numerators and our denominators by our denominators. And then we're going to convert or reduce if needed. So that is the job for the day. We appreciate your time and your attention to this. And as always, if it doesn't make sense, keep asking questions. It's totally normal. It doesn't make sense. And I encourage you to continue to watch the videos and work hard and believe in yourself. Know that it's a process. As always, we appreciate the time. I appreciate you, and we'll see you later.